Analogy of communicating over the network. The TCP/IP model. The TCP/IP, which is called Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol, is the basic communication language or protocol of the Internet. It can also be used as a communications protocol in a private network, either an intranet or an extranet. When you set up with direct access to the Internet, your computer is provided with a copy of the TCP/IP program, just as every other computer that you may send messages to or get information from also that has a copy of TCP/IP. And if you have a look at this diagram over here, we have the application layer, and the application layer represents the data to the user, plus encoding and dialogue control. And here is the transport layer, and the transport layer supports the communication between diverse devices and across diverse networks. And here is the internet layer, and it determines the best path through the network. And we have the network access layer, and it controls the hardware, devices and media that make up the network. The OSI model. The OSI, which is called Open Systems Interconnection, is a standard description or reference model for how messages should be transmitted between any 2 points in a telecommunication network. Its purpose is to guide product implementators so that their products will consistently work with other products. The reference model defines 7 layers of functions that take place at each end of a communication. Now here we have a diagram of the server. We have a workstation, which could also be called a PC, a host or a client. And from the server, from the application layer, it will create the data. From the transport layer and internet layer, it will segment and encapsulate the data. And from the network access layer, it will generate to the media. It will send all this data through here, through the channel or through the media, and it will go to the network access layer, which is the to the workstation, PC, host or client, and it will receive from the media, from the network access layer, and from the internet and transport layer it would decapsulate and reassemble the data, and from the application layer it will be passed to the application layer to the workstation. Now we have PCA, and from the application layer it's going to encapsulate the email message, and from the transport layer it's going to encapsulate the data, and from the internet layer it's going to add the header, and from the network access layer it's going to add the trailer. And it's added it's added the header and the data, so it's added all the data, all these segments into one, into the network access layer, and it's going to encapsulate the zeros and ones in binary on and off, and it's going to send these codes to the next receiving hosts. Here we have PCB, and he's going to decapsulate the 0 1s in binary on and off, and from the network's access layer it's going to decapsulate the header and trailer, And from the internet layer, it's going to decapsulate the header. And from the transport layer, it's going to decapsulate the header and data. And from the application layer, it's going to decapsulate the email message. And another word for decapsulation is stripping. So we strip off all the frame, trailer, and all the data. So we're sending it to, so we're stripping it off and sending it to PCB. And PCA encapsulated all the data to prepare to send to PCB. Okay, so from the application layer, it's going to encapsulate the email message, and it's going to encapsulate the data. And from the transport layer, it's going to encapsulate the header, the data, and it's going to encapsulate into a segment from the transport layer. And from the internet layer, it's going to encapsulate the header, the data, to encapsulate to the packet. And the packet is encapsulated from the internet layer. And from the network access layer, it's going to encapsulate the header, the data, the trailer, and it's going to encapsulate into a frame. And that frame is encapsulated from the network access layer. I'd like to thank you for viewing, and good luck with your studies.